I think one misconception about organizing is that it's a beast that's built around noise. How high you can turn the volume up on something is exactly equivalent to how effective you are. And what people aren't seeing is all the behind-the-scenes strategy that happens to make organizing victories possible, right? It's not just about how many people we had at this protest or how many people were yelling at the senator outside of their office. That's an important piece, right? You have to have people out there putting public pressure on there, but it doesn't work. It doesn't actually achieve your results unless you have a lot of other moving pieces going on. That's people who are taking the initiative to get something started in an issue that people hadn't talked about before, right? How do issues become popular? It's not just because you organize a 10,000 person march, because someone thought through, how do we get to a place where this issue becomes something that's on the front pages, right? How do we get to that place? What's the strategy behind that? Someone had to think through, okay, we raised money for this thing. What are we gonna spend the money on? How are we gonna spend that money? How are we gonna deal with the legal necessities of having different kind of entities that exist? That's a really challenging piece of organizing, and yet nothing will happen if you can't take care of the logistical piece, the operational piece, the legal piece. Research, right? There's a huge amount of research which goes into how do we get across what we need to get across? Who are the targets of our actions? How it is that we're getting to understand the policies, the proposals we're putting forward? That piece is also massive. And all those pieces have to work together. At the end of the day, that's the really challenging part. And I think that people have this conception that it's all kind of single-minded, like someone just had an idea for a thing and they just marched forward and made it all happen by themselves. Just like any success, right? It's a reflection of a community around someone. And the kinds of people who are in that community need to be a diverse group, right? It needs to be people who can represent the community that you're talking about, and also people who bring a lot of different skills to the table, because so much of that has to happen for those things to be effective. There's a lot of memories I have of door knocking in different parts of the country. But one thing that sticks out to me just thinking back to 2018 cycle was spent about a week out in Detroit at the very end of the Abdul Sayed campaign for governor there. Amazing candidate, amazing guy, amazing race. And there was a particular interaction that remembered me thinking about unexpected outcomes. And you have assumptions about places you're going and people you're talking to that are oftentimes wrong, completely wrong. So I was in a neighborhood in kind of the east side of Detroit, walking around. It was a very working class neighborhood, and was walking by a house, and there were three guys out on the step, and they were drinking 40s and smoking blunts. Seeming to be having a good time. My first thought was, this house is on my list, but maybe I'll skip this. I don't know what's going on exactly here. I don't want to get involved in something. And they didn't seem like they were exactly looking to make new friends. They were just sort of hanging out there. But I thought, I'm only here for this week. We need every vote we're going to get. I do not think that these voters do not seem like the people who are going to be supporting the opponent. I want to make sure they're going to get out and vote when it comes down to election day. So I stopped and had a chat with them. And at first they're a little bit hostile, sort of why are you here? What is this that you're talking about? But immediately I mentioned Abdul. They had seen an ad of his. They had been to his event recently in the area. Got really animated, got really excited. At first, sort of you want to come hang out for a little bit. And Chad was like, actually, I need to go and knock on a bunch of doors. And oh, okay, well, where do you need to go? So I showed them the list and showed them where I was going to. And they started to, this person's not home. Oh yeah, you can see this person later. You definitely, this person on your list, but you should go and talk to them instead. They're out there basically campaign advisors trying to figure out where I should go and what neighborhood I should go to next. And it was amazing. It was these people who, I did not see at all thinking of these are the kind of people who are going to be wanting to get engaged in a gubernatorial election right now. They're just having a fun Sunday afternoon. But it was absolutely the opposite of what I was expecting. And it was beautiful to sort of sit there and talk with them a little bit about what they're seeing in their community and who they thought was going to get out and vote for Abdul. It was this very neat thing, and it wasn't fun for them. They were talking about the real issues. For them, big thing there was car insurance. There's a huge problem with car insurance in Detroit. There's basically car insurance redlining across the state of Michigan. And it's something that Abdul had talked about a lot during the campaign. It's we need to make sure he gets elected because we're tired of getting shafted, essentially paying ridiculous amounts on car insurance. We need to get this guy in. And they were 100% down for this. So now I think maybe this experience had happened before, but never assume that people who are out having a good time on their porch aren't also looking to have a conversation with you. Go and engage, go and talk to people, even when you don't know what the outcome is going to be. Especially people who are already out, because they sometimes want to be engaged more than someone who's sitting inside their house watching a movie or something like that. I think that the thing that anyone should look at if this is their sort of first step into political organizing world is what matters to you, what moves you, what makes you feel the sense of urgency. Is that a particular person? Maybe there's someone running for office in your area that you feel like this person really needs to be in a position of leadership. Maybe it's an issue. Maybe you're thinking about racial justice, climate justice. Those are the things that move you, that make you feel like, I really want to be a part of that. Maybe it's something very local, right? It's like there's a zoning issue in my neighborhood, or there's a problem with pollution in the river by my house. I'm against fracking, and there's fracking that's coming near in my part of the state. Find that first. That will guide your next step. If you're able to articulate for yourself, here's why I want to be involved in this, then you can go and sit down with any organization or campaign and say, here's why I want to be involved in this work. Here's what I can bring. Here's what I can offer. And I think you'll find time and time again that people, when you bring that kind of clarity to the table, that conversation becomes a very easy one, right? It's a lot more challenging when someone says, hey, I want to help this thing because I've been told that I need to. You have to start with what you want to do, and that'll also make it more sustainable for you, that you have clarity about that for yourself. Means that first time you knock on someone's door and someone isn't very nice to you, you're not just going to leave. You understand that this is important, and you understand that you're going to have to work through some of those things as well.